Quickly getting into the today's discussion. Business market characteristics. Some of the points we have discussed already. Fewer and larger buyers. Like I said, number of companies if I compared with number of human population, right? A number of for any product if you think, right? Number of companies, number of businesses will be always small or less than the number of population, number of customers, right? When I say customers, B2C customers, customers like you and me, right? Think about in India, right now the population is 120 crore, right? Even if you take the 40 crores who are, let's say, in the bottom of pyramid, there is still a kind of a sizable population of 60 to 80 crore who make daily purchases of different things, right? But if you think the number of companies which exists in India, right, that won't be that many, right? It might be in lakhs, right? It might be in crores, but it will not be in 80 crores or 60 crores, right? So that is about when you talk about fewer and larger buyers, right? The single purchase from a company, obviously, the amount of money I spend in a purchase monthly, whatever I purchase, right? I cannot, our purchase cannot be compared with a money amount of money spent by a company, right? Close supplier customer relationship. This part again, we'll discuss in detail in the key account management. But obviously, it is something not as one point contact, right? You have to build that relationship 3 to 5 years. That means, so it is not that suddenly you go to a company and make a within 3 months you convince them to buy a product, right? You have to be in touch, maybe to build that relationship for 2 to 3 years or 5 years. Then maybe 1 or 2 big purchases might happen, right? So it takes a lot of time, right? So if I compare, let's say you are in the ITC and you are in the business division and the customer division, right? As a customer division, each month you will have a target that, okay, you have to meet these many retailers, these many, you have to visit these many kirana shops, right? But if you are joining the business division, let's say they have a business division of ITC manufactures these paper products, right? Packaging products, right? They sell those packaging material, packaging product to different businesses, right? Amazon might get big kind of Amazon's own packing or warehousing services.
Your voice is breaking.
Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what I was talking about, let's say ITC, if I compare ITC consumer division, which are into mostly into FMCG products, and the packaging division, right? So the major customers of ITC packaging division will be customers like Amazon, Flipkart, right? They are warehouses. So if you compare the monthly target, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. In B2C, if you join as a sales executive, every day you have to go to the kirana shops, retailers, maybe Reliance Retail, Big Bazaar, wherever the ITC products are being sold, right? But when you talk about a packaging division, let's say you have to meet the Amazon executive, Flipkart executive, right? The visits are less. It is not that every day you have to visit. Maybe monthly or quarterly, 2-3 times you have to visit. But it is not that the visit will be always fruitful, right? Because kirana shops and all those people are kind of your channel partners, right? You just have to go and make sure that your products are more visible to customers like you and me. So see the difference. What happens when you are actually working as a business to customer executive, sales executive? So it generally doesn't happen. You will come and make a sales to me, right? If you join FMCG company, what you basically do is you go and make sure that the kirana shops, retail shops are making sure that ITC products are prominently visible, right? And they are like kind of better, like being sold better than the competitors, right? You generally most of the times don't go and make a sales to me, customers like you and me, right? You don't go and sell Yippee noodles or Asirvad atta to you and me, but you make sure that your products, ITC products, are visible inside the stores, right? And obviously other part you have to take care. Payment is being made like kind of regularly to those channel partners. Sales promotions are correctly being made. So those part you have to take care. But in B2B, what happens? You are actually going and meeting the customer. And who is customer? There will be 10 to 25 people depending upon the organization who are going to make a decision about your product, your services. Let's say you are from ITC packaging division. Sorry, I got disconnected. So what happens if you are from a B2B division, right? So actually you are going and meeting the customers, you are going to meet the decision makers, and for each one of you, right, you should have a different sales strategy, right? If you are meeting a finance person, right, who is going to make a decision about the purchase, right, that person will be much more interested in the kind of amount of money the company will save, the amount of money Amazon or Flipkart will save if they are going to use ITC's packaging material. The user, the warehouse manager, they will look into the technical aspects of packaging, whether the packaging material will get damaged easily or it is holding the products better, right? So each of them will have different requirements. So when you are making a sales pitch, you have to meet that, right? We'll discuss those sales pitch in detail, how to make a sales pitch, how to kind of connect with them, the users, customers, stakeholders, right? But what I'm trying to tell is here in sorry again.
Audio is breaking too much, sir.
Yeah, I'm not sure why internet is not working today. It's like kind of also it is getting disconnected very often. Sorry for the disturbance. But unfortunately, I have that kind of geo network only right now. Am I audible now? Is it better?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is B2C process compared to B2B process will be a little bit simpler, right? B2B process will be complex because the stakeholders, number of people you will be meeting, right? Number of people you have to convince are larger, right? Again, how to convince them? What is the sales process? We'll get to do that part later on. Close supplier customer relationship. We have discussed this. It is a long-term relationship. Many
Sir,
buying.
I have a doubt, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sir, you said that for the purchase in B2, for the purchase in B2B, the decision is specific to each department. For example, a company decides to purchase a bulk amount of given item. So, if the finance department will be focused on the amount that is to be invested in, the amount that can be saved, as well as another department will be influenced, will be focusing on the quality of the product. So final decision will be taken by which one, sir?
Together. So that is the most important part, right? All of them have to be like, so that is the buying center, which is in the next slide. So when you talk about the B2B purchase, there will be a group of people, right? Purchase group that consists of finance, that consists of sales and marketing, that consists of the user who is going to use your product, that consists of the maybe IT if it is a software, right? Sometimes if it is a human resources, HR person will be involved, right? So there will be a group of people apart from the purchase manager, sometimes legal team, right? Depending if it is a small company, maybe 3-4 people. If it is a big company, 25 people. Unanimously. So if you remember last class, I told you to like kind of make a list of criteria for vendors, right? So that list has to be prepared first, right? Then based upon that list, based upon that criteria, you have to find out which is your like kind of final vendor. And that list has to be prepared as a, like it is not a single person's wish list. Each like finance will tell, no, we have to find the lowest vendor. And then the user, let's say the packaging division from Amazon warehouse manager, that person will tell these are the minimum criteria. If a vendor is not meeting that, I'll not select, right? So all of that need to be listed and all of them need to be published to all the vendors. Like ITC, there will be many companies who are preparing packaging material, right? So all of them will bid, right? And whichever salesperson is able to convince that yes, our product is better, they will get the order, right? So to answer your question, it is again a group decision. That group is known as buying center. That is actually in the after 1 or 2 slides. It is there. We will discuss that. This demand again. This part is in the next slide. We'll just discuss that. Multiple sales calls. So this is what I was trying to tell you. So it is not that you will tell that this month I'll go and complete the like order and take the order. Yes, it might happen for a small order, but for the bigger order, it takes 12 months to 18 months. You might have to travel 3-4 times in a year, right? So that is, so every time you travel, that is a sales call, right? Geographically concentrated buyers, right? So most of the times what happens, again, it is not true for always, right? If I talk about IT companies, right? And let's say I am building a product which will be utilized by IT companies, right? So which are the cities I should target? I should not put my office everywhere in 25 or 30 states in across India, right? I know that major centers are Bangalore, Hyderabad, might be in Mumbai and Delhi, but I should target Bangalore and Hyderabad, because if I'm looking into some product, something which I'm going to sell to IT companies, right? Let's say work from home solutions, right? Let's say I'm a furniture company and I'm looking into providing full like kind of furnitures, desktop, everything to the IT companies employees, right? Then where I should focus on? Bangalore and Hyderabad, maybe Chennai, these 2-3 cities. If I'm looking into something which, let's say, engine for an automobile or some components for automobile companies, I should look into Gurgaon, Chennai, Pune. So that is because most of the companies, depending upon the requirement of the company, right, are very geographically concentrated, right? So the company whom you will be targeting, again, it is not true always, right? So let's say bank. So every state, every city has a bank, right? So it is not that, okay, I'll say that I'll only, you can do that. But again, like there are products, there will be companies who will be scattered around, right? But think about some industries, automobile, some manufacturing industry like sugarcane, sugar production, right? Textiles, IT companies, IT sector. There are particular cities where those businesses are concentrated, right? Geographically concentrated. Is this part clear or any doubt? Geographically concentrated buyers. Buyers means those companies who will purchase your items, right? So you think yourself as a salesperson. Is this part clear or any doubt in? I have not discussed 2 or 3 points in this slide.
Sir,
Yeah.
Sir, actually, sir, in bias means purchasing bias, is there any difference in pricing also geographically?
Pricing in the terms of how much?
In the terms of buying, suppose if I consider Odisha state, then I am selling it in suppose 20,000 or 30,000 rupees. But for a metro city, I means I am willing to sell it 25,000 rupees. So is there any pricing bias also, or only geographical bias? Means when where there is a demand, more demand, then I will sell only at that point.
Okay, so for each sales you are making, your price need to be customized, right? Again, there is a lot of things which is not part of this course, and the taxation part. As a salesperson, you have to have an understanding of the taxation part. So to answer your question, for the same product, if I'm selling that into Delhi and Odisha, right? B2B purchase,
Yes.
B2B, taxation will be different. Right now, obviously, due to GST, there is certain uniform things attached to it. There won't be much difference, but still there will be certain municipality and state taxes, right? There will be obviously variation due to in pricing also. Okay.
Sir, could you explain that many buying influences?
Yeah, so same thing what Ijaz was asking or we are discussing, right? So for a single purchase, let's say Amazon warehouse manager have a order of each day, they have a requirement of 5 ton or 3 ton of packaging boxes, right? Those material, packaging material, right? So that is, he is the user, right? But there will be somebody, Amazon finance manager. His target will be to save a cost of this much for each purchase, 5%, 10%. There will be legal guy. In this case, HR manager might not be kind of utilized. So there will be group of people who are going to influence the decision, right? Because each of them will have their own agenda, own criteria, right? So there is a group of people who is going to influence the buying decision, right? So that is the meaning of many buying influences. The group of people, because it is not that you are going to selling to that warehouse manager only. He might be a major decision maker, influencer, but he is not a sole decision maker. there will be somebody from finance, there might be somebody from legal team, there might be somebody from transportation team, right? So there will be group of people, and obviously the purchase manager, purchasing group, right, who is going to make the decision. So those group of people have an influence on the purchase process. Think about the construction industry, right? So these big apartments which are being utilized, right? The outside consultants, architects will be big influencers, because most of the time these big companies, right, take the help of those architects to decide on which kind of equipments. Let's say you are using these lifts, right? Whether it is Otis or some other company, right? Basically, those architects give those suggestions. For air conditioning system, if it is a central air conditioning system, which company will be a better option, right? So in that case, there is outside influence, the architects, right? So they basically suggest, okay, for your type of building, you need this kind of tonnage of air conditioning. So, and this will be a better company, right? So again, that is outside influence, right? So these are the major influences for any purchases, depending upon the company, obviously. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the demand part, again, I have not discussed. We'll discuss in the next class. Next slide. Not class. So let us try to understand from this derived demand, okay, and try to understand what is the difference between derived demand and joint demand, right? Derived demand is something. Let us try to understand through an example. Then we'll get into the definition. Right? Computer, like we have discussed, Dell, Lenovo. Each computer right now will have a microprocessor, right? Whether it can be Intel, AMD, right? So what happens? The demand for Intel processors or the demand for AMD processors is derived from the demand for laptops, desktops, the computers basically, right? If I categorize everything, laptop, desktop into computer, right? So basically what I mean to say is the demand for the microprocessor, which is utilized across computers, right? Whether it is Intel, AMD, is derived from the demand from computers, right? So what it means, let's say next year's kind of the forecast, all the companies, laptop manufacturing companies have a forecast of 1 crore or 5 crore of laptops or desktops will be sold, or much more than, let's say 10 crores or 20 crores, right? So what it means, the chip manufacturers, AMD and Intel, have to have a production line of that many processors. Currently, if you see, Tata Motors, Hyundai, major companies are facing issue because there is a component in cars like the Land Rover and
Microprocessor.
right? So there is a shortage. Why there is a shortage? Because there is a mining problem, right? So everything is connected. If like where for microprocessor you need the material, raw material like silicon, right? If that is not mined, that many quantity is not there, you cannot produce microprocessor. If microprocessor is not there, then obviously they are right now Tata in one day, I think Tata Motors share got down by 40 or 50 points, right? Only for that region. There is a news that production will be delayed due to kind of lack of microprocessor. So this kind of situation where one product's forecast, right, is derived from other product, let's say microprocessor computer. Microprocessor is also utilized in some automobiles, right? So that is a derived demand, right? Joint demand, what happens? Again, it is similar to derived demand, but there is a fine line. Each of you have a laptop, right? Laptop might have a additional accessories, right? Might be a laptop bag or a external webcam or a external mouse, external keyboard, right? So what happens? Demand for laptop bags, demand for, let's say, external mouse, which is utilized in laptop or desktop, right, is dependent on the number of laptops, number of desktops in the market, right? But it is not a one-to-one relation. All of us might not have an external webcam. All of us might not buy an external mouse or external keyboard, right? The demand for external mouse, external keypad, or a external webcam is dependent on number of computers, number of laptops, but it is not a one-to-one relation. But in case of microprocessor, it is a one-to-one relation. One laptop will have, let's say, it is a like depending upon the octa core, how many cores, right? Number of processors, right? So that is a one-to-one relationship. Let's say I have a random access memory, 8 GB or 16 GB, 2 slots. For each laptop, I have 2 slots. That means 2 RAMs might be utilized, right? So that is a one-to-one relationship. But laptop bag, if I'm buying a personal laptop, I might not buy every time I'm buying a laptop. I might not buy a laptop bag, right? So that is the fine difference. But whenever I'm buying a new laptop, there is already inbuilt microprocessor, right? I cannot say that, okay, don't give a microprocessor, right? So that is the derived demand, because there is a one-to-one relationship. For each laptop, there is a need of microprocessor. Joint demand, yes. Laptop bag is, demand of laptop bag is dependent on number of laptops, but it is not one-to-one relationship. Each time we are buying a laptop, we might not buy a laptop bag, right? Is this difference clear?
Sir, for example, TV remote, is it a derived demand or joint demand?
TV remote, again, it will be derived demand, right? If I'm kind utilize the same TV remote for the other kind of TVs, right? Multiple TVs. Right now, I think in this phone also I can utilize. I can make my phone as a remote, right? In this case, it is a joint demand. So it is not required that for each TV there will be a mandatory requirement of a remote, right? But TV, for each TV there is a screen, right? So that is a derived demand. I cannot say that you give me a TV without a screen unless we get into those projects and TVs. Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then some demands will be inelastic, right? So there is an example, right? Think about the construction firms, right? Let's say cement prices decreases, right? Obviously they'll store, but they cannot store it for a longer duration, right? There will be some material, let's say there is a price drop, right? So elastic demand means suddenly price drops, demand will exert in the same line, it will increase, right? That is elastic demand, one-to-one relationship. Price decreases, demand will increase in the same quantity or same factor. Inelastic, it won't happen in that way, right? Construction companies, suddenly cement prices decreases. It is not that they'll start storing cements for the future, right? Yes, they obviously do some part, but it is not that suddenly the demand will increase. Same thing, I think there is example for lumber, right? In USA, basically the constructions are lumber dependent rather than cement or the concrete, right? Suddenly they don't store a large quantity of lumber in case the lumber prices decreases, right? But again, it is not always true, depending upon the product, depending upon like in case of refineries, right? We used to have a whenever there is a decrease in prices, right? Because refinery margin will increase, right? Improve if you are using a crude oil, the crude oil basically from where the petrol and diesel gets produced, right? So anytime there is a decrease in prices, Brent oil or whichever oil we are using, right? What most of the refineries do, they try to buy a larger quantity and store it for future usage, right? So in that case, what will happen? Because the crude oil fluctuation happens a lot. There is a war in Iran, suddenly it will increase to 150 per barrel or something. Right now, let's say the prices has come down, let's say 60 or 50. Refinery companies do that, right? So this is not true always, depending upon the product. So whenever there is a decrease in price of the crude oil, demand actually increases, right? Because across world refineries try to store a little bit more, right? Then obviously volatile demand, because see, right now I said suddenly the micro demand for let's say cars or demand for laptops decreases, right? Your demand for microprocessors will decrease. Demand for microprocessor decreases. That means mining for silicon or those material also will decrease, because everything is related. Think about automobiles. If the demand of automobiles for the last 2 years was down, number of engines, Hyundai, Honda, or whichever manufactures those automobile engines, that will come down. If the engine is coming down, the metal production, which is utilized to produce the engine, that will also come down. So everything is connected to each other, right? Then other one of the important characteristics in recent years which has happened, the just in time, right? The most of the companies are trying to do away with this inventory management. Whenever the need arises, right, they will order that quantity and the quantity will get delivered, right? So that is the concept of just in time. Toyota started that, and most of the automobile companies do that, right? One of the key challenge or key focus of just in time is, if you are going to implement just in time, right? Think about the Maruti, right? Let's say Maruti implements just in time production. What does it mean? Today I have a, tomorrow I have a shift, or today evening I have a shift. I have to produce 2000 cars, right? So for 2000 cars, I need that number of engines, 2000 multiplied by 4 or 5 number of tires. Each component, depending upon the bill of material, I have to make that list. And that, for each component, the order will go to the vendor, right? And they will supply within 4 to 5 hours or 6 hours to my assembly line. So there is no concept of storing in the inventory, though they have a backup, right? Let's say delivery doesn't come, they will have a backup. But generally what happens? Maruti will send the request through the ERP system, and within 6 hours, the number of engines will come from whichever company, let's say Honda or Hyundai. A number of tires, let's say I have a deal with MRF, number of tires will get delivered from MRF. For that to happen, the most important part is the plant of manufacturing plant of MRF need to be within very near to my plant, because that material cannot come from Chennai. If let's say my MRF has a plant in Chennai, within one day the delivery cannot happen to my Gurgaon plant, right? So one of the key aspect, key important factor to implement just in time is your suppliers, your raw material suppliers need to be closer to you, right? If it is a manufacturing company like automobile, whichever company you take, right? And if they want to implement just in time, one of the important aspects they have to make sure that the raw material vendor need to be within 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers radius. Again, I'm just giving the example of kilometers. So the idea is, if there is every day, I'll put an order and you are going to supply within a stipulated 3 hours or 4 hours of time or 6 hours, right? So that's why your manufacturing plant cannot be in different cities. You cannot supply within the 8 hours or 6 hours of timeline, right? So that is the requirement for just-in-time management, right? And just-in-time, obviously, you have to go for a single supplier. Obviously, sometimes they have a backup, but most of the time, I have a arrangement with a single supplier. That is the meaning of sole sourcing. Sole means one sourcing, one person, one company sourcing. I am sourcing my raw material, I am sourcing my components from one vendor. Let's say Dell or Lenovo want to implement just in time. That means Intel or AMD have to have a plant nearby Dell or Lenovo's assembly line. Otherwise, it cannot happen. Otherwise, I'll go to the previous, like I'll order, I'll have a monthly forecast or 15 days forecast. The material will come and I'll have a warehouse. I'll store the processors. Whenever there is the requirement, I'll assemble them, right? But just in time, what happens? Generally, one day or one shift, right? So if I have an evening shift, I know the number of vehicles to be produced. The order will go yesterday evening or today morning, right? So that is the meaning of just in time. Is there any doubt on this?
So can you give another example of inelastic demand?
Inelastic demand, think of laptop. Microprocessor prices come down, right? Companies do not invest putting the inventory for microprocessor. Metal production like increases right now. Let's say the obviously steel prices are much more right now. 6 months back, 8 months back, steel prices was less. So suddenly companies do not buy the steel rods or the steel items, right, for the manufacturing. Engine, some part of the engine is steel, made up of pure steel, right? So it is not suddenly that they'll start buying the steel items for the kind of metal steel, right? So in that case, it is the inelastic demand. But again, like in some cases, it is actually elastic. Like I gave an example of oil production, right? Whenever the crude oil price decreases, the refineries try to kind of buy in bulk for more.
Okay, sir.
Any doubt on this? Then there are basically three types of buying situations. The last one is not actually a buying situation, that is a buying strategy, right? Or the selling process. Let us try to understand through an example, and I'll take the example of KIT University, right? Think about KIT University, right? There will be some items which are regularly required. The A4 size papers, printer cartridges, right? So those are regular items, right? So that is a straight rebuy. That means every month, obviously right now the kind of requirement will be very less. Professors are not there, students are not there. But in the general situation, lot of printout in paper happens. So lot of usage of printer cartridges, A4 size paper is utilized, right? So that, so let's say KIT University wants to put an order for printer cartridges, right? For the A4 size paper from whichever company, right? So that is a straight rebuy process, right? Because we are ordering that routinely. We are not changing the specifications. We have already printers. The printer cartridges every 3 months or 6 months, number of printer cartridges order will go. Each month or each 15 days, the order for the paper requirement will go. The envelopes requirement will go. So those are the routine purchases. Technical specifications do not change year on year. So that is a simple purchase. So in that case, what happens? We have a regular, so that is something in the ERP system implemented, right? Depending upon the requirement, we need not have to take approval again. The vendor has been finalized, right? We will have a multi-year contract with them, 3 to 5 years. Let's say printers, if we are using Canon or HP or whichever. So we have a 3 to 5 years of contract with them, right? And we know that every month or every 3 months, this many cartridges will be required. So we send a request, right? So that is the straight rebuy, right? So there is not much modification changes in the technical specifications. Modified rebuy, again, it is not a new purchase. Think about your laptops, right? So each year there will be certain modifications, right? There will be a new tender, there will be certain change in terms, right? Delivery, let's say, right? Earlier, if you see 2 years back, what used to happen? Laptops was delivered through the like kind of central IT warehouse in KIT University, and that will go to your hostel, and you will collect from the hostel, right? Last 2 years, due to online, what terms and conditions have changed? We have a deal with the suppliers, so they are directly sending to the student's house, right? So there is a change in terms. Obviously, price every year changes. Then each year, depending upon the requirement, specifications might change, right? Earlier, 3 years, 5 years back, those are Intel Pentium or something. Then i3, right now, I think i5, right? Which processor you are getting, i5 or i7?
I7,
Intel.
sir.
Okay. So again, right? So it has changed over the years, right? So that is the meaning of modified rebuy. New task is that is the first time university is making a purchase, right? Let's say we did not have Moodle, the online exam platform. 2 years back, due to those online requirements, last 20 years of existence of university, we did not have that system. The Zoom, the license part which university is using, right? That was not there, right? So that is a new task, new purchase, right? It is not there at all. We have not used. So again, who has not used? The university. The buyer have not used it earlier. So that is a new task. So any new purchase happens as a new task. Later on, either it will get into the modified rebuy or getting into the straight rebuy. 15 years back, it might have happened that we are not like giving laptops to students. In a certain year, it would have started, okay, right now everybody is using computer. Let's start the purchase of laptops. So for that year, that would have been a new purchase. Terms and conditions would have been written and everything would have been finalized. Then next year onwards, it is a modified rebuy. So every new purchase, next year purchase onwards, get into this modified rebuy. Because right now, laptop purchase is a modified rebuy situation. Every year we are changing the terms and conditions, few changes. It is not a suddenly it is a new kind of computer or something, right? So same laptop configuration, slight changes here and there, terms and conditions, right? So that is a modified rebuy. Moodle, Zoom purchase which has happened in last 2 years, for the first time, that is a new task, right? Is these three definitions clear? Straight rebuy, modified rebuy, new task. Or any doubt in this? Yeah, please go ahead. I could not listen. Was that a question? Okay. So last one is basically solution selling, right? So system selling or solution selling. So again, it is not a purchasing situation. It is a strategy as such. So what does it mean? Like we have discussed earlier, right? Rather than selling a product or a service, right? You try to provide them the complete solution as a seller, as a salesperson, right? Earlier, what used to happen? Okay, you need laptop, right? Let's say laptop, as a laptop manufacturer, he'll come and ask how many laptops you require, what kind of specifications, right? But think it about a solution. So what does that solution selling mean? So why university needs laptop? So laptops will be utilized by students or what? For let's say using certain softwares for attending classes, right? Now as a laptop manufacturer, you will think, okay, I'll not just sell the product. Apart from the product, I'll add some additional things. Let's say I'll provide with the video, this Zoom platform, right? I will have a tie up with Zoom or Cisco. If you purchase my laptop, your students have a free license of 1 year of Zoom or Cisco's WebEx or Google Meet, right? So what I'm trying to do, rather than selling you a product, rather than selling you a laptop, I'm moving into a solution selling. I'm providing you a solution, complete solution. I can get into the exam Moodle also. I can have a tie up with Moodle. So you'll get a Moodle license. I can tie up with some other software vendors so that you'll get those licenses also. So whatever as a university you have a
ERP systems.
ERP systems will not be specific to laptops, right? It will be again, yeah, okay, let me give an example, cloud solutions, right? If Amazon is trying to sell the cloud solutions, apart from the cloud solutions, they can provide a ERP solution also, right? Laptop manufacturer may not provide because laptops is mostly utilized by students, right? ERP systems will be utilized by those IT team and the like functional teams, finance, HR, right? So in that case, we need a storage system, the cloud services, Amazon or those people who are providing Microsoft, right? So they might tie up with, let's say, Oracle or some other company, SAP, right? And try to provide you the complete solution, right? So that is the meaning of solution selling. So whenever you are getting into a selling situation, right? Think about a solution rather than selling a product or service. And most of the sales pitch right now in today's world, right, are getting into this solution selling, right? Because what happens if you're selling a product, you are just have a one-to-one relationship. Right now, what happens? You are getting into multiple domains. In some domain, you might not have expertise, right? The Lenovo or the Dell might not have a expertise on video calling platform, but you can have a tie-up, right? You can have a partnership with the other company to provide that solution. It is not necessary that you have that kind of services. You should have that kind of product. You can always go for a tie-up or a partnership, right? So that is the systems or solution selling. Is this part clear or any doubt on this?
Clear, sir.
Sir,
Yeah.
in straight rebuy,
Yeah.
we continuously buy the same order from a vendor without any modification. That means we are also developing, we are also becoming more common among the companies. And in system selling, also,
We are becoming. Can you please repeat? We are becoming more.
Sir, in straight rebuy also we are becoming common with the vendor now because we are placing the same order again and again. So
Means,
what is the difference between?
So when you say we are becoming more common with vendor, what do you mean by that?
Sir, means suppose I am from a L&D department and for upskilling of the employees, I contact one particular vendor for training the employees every year. So
Correct.
we have developed a kind of relationship with the vendor.
Correct. So the first time when you are doing that is a new task. So obviously you will start someday, right? So it is not that, let's say you start from 2021, that your employees will get a certain HR training, right? So that is the new task for that year, right? From the next year onwards, if you are not making any changes, that is a straight rebuy. Vendor remains same, price remains same, terms and conditions remain same, that is a straight rebuy. But if you are changing certain terms and conditions, right, that will become a modified rebuy. Anytime you start something first time, that is always a new task. Later in the next year onwards, either it will get into a modified rebuy or a straight rebuy. It might happen that for the, yeah.
Sir, I have a doubt in derived demand and joint demand, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, with elastic and inelastic nature, sir, the derived demand is always inelastic, sir.
Derived demand is inelastic. So what do you mean by inelastic demand?
Sir, suppose if there is a demand of gasoline, sir, and price is also high, the demand will not decrease, sir. Because people will use the gasoline in the same way what they are using earlier.
It is not true, right? So you'll try to save. So right now, let's say petrol becomes 200. You'll try to save petrol, or you will like earlier you used to go for a free ride, right? You'll do that. Obviously, right now people are trying to like save petrol, right? Not buying that much, right?
But demand is as per extent, sir. Suppose price will become high, people will not use their car. It's not possible, sir. They will use their car and fill the petrol.
Use car, they'll use less, right? So it is not that you will throw away your car, but it is not that every day. So for a short distance, you might walk, and it is happening right now. If you see the sale of diesel and petrol for the last 8 months, see the graph, whether quantity has decreased or not.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Obviously, there will be like I cannot say that okay, production I am using diesel, so suddenly I'll say that okay, I'll not produce anything. Or the transportation, suddenly buses will not say that okay, now prices have increased, we'll stop everything. They will increase the prices accordingly. It will affect your customer prices, but there will be always a reduction in like demand, right? If the price increases, how much again?
Okay,
That again depends.
Okay, sir. So derived demand is already inelastic, sir.
Derived demand, again, depending upon the product, like I said, some product, like I said, so think about B2B, right? So when we were discussing these examples, we are thinking of B2B. Some derived demand might be elastic also, right? Think about the construction, that is inelastic. Suddenly steel prices come down, right? You are not going to buy a lot many steel rods or the steel frames, right? But the decrease in crude oil prices, refineries do buy a lot of crude oil, lot of quantity of crude oil for the future usage.
Exactly, yes, sir. Right, sir.
So what kind of buyers involved? Straight rebuy, habitual decision making. You have already made those purchases. So the, let's say, training example if I take, right? So let's say for the 3 years or the last 4 years, I am using the same vendor for the similar training, right? And actually it is there, like the safety and fire drill, right? There are only few vendors who provide those kind of fire and safety drill, right? Authorized vendors across Odisha or across India, right? So let's say KIT University or Infosys or TCS have a tie up with those vendors who each 6 months, because that is a legal requirement, mandatory state requirement, that if you have a company with this many employees, each 6 months or every quarter there will be a fire drill. I guess it is 6 months. So yearly at least twice. So you have a tie up with that partner, tie up with that vendor, right? So most of the time terms, conditions, pricing remain same. So every 6 months you ask them, right? So it is an automatic reorder. So you will just send a order to them that okay, you come on this date, provide us the fire and fire drill and the kind of those first aid kind of demonstration. Then the payment is fixed and you give that. And again after 6 months, that will again go, right? Risk is low because terms and conditions almost fixed, vendor is known. This is a habitual decision making, right? Printers, we have printed printers for the last 5 years, we are buying cartridges, right? So that is a habitual decision making. Automatic reorder. So most of the times what happens, because the terms, conditions, vendor, everything is fixed, right? Most of the times you have a system generated email which will go after 6 months and order the item, right? If QT University is using ERP, the HP, the printer division also using ERP, right? So we need not have a manual intervention. Every 3 months, automatic order of 15 cartridges or 20 cartridges will go. And after the delivery has been made, payment will go from Kit account to HP or Canon, right? So that is the automatic reorder. Obviously, if you do not have ERP system, manual intervention will be required. Somebody has to sign the order and send through post or send through email, right? Modified rebuy, because there is a change in terms and conditions, right? The laptop delivery conditions have changed. Rather than laptop manufacturers delivering the items into a single location, they have to send across different locations. Most of the locations in Odisha, some in West Bengal, some in southern part of India, some in Delhi, right? So again, wherever students are, the items need to be delivered, right? So there need to be limited problem solving. What changes of terms and conditions required? How much impact on pricing will happen, right? Risk is moderate because you are changing the terms and conditions. There will be change in pricing, right? Some persons need to take that decision, right? So that is the meaning of buyers involved. In this case, purchase managers are not involved, right? Because terms and conditions has already been decided in straight rebuy. Modified rebuy, you are changing certain terms and conditions. So some purchase managers will be involved, right? New task. This is the first time. Let's say the training division of LNT or KIT or whichever ITC TCS, right? They have to hire certain fire drill kind of training personnel, right? And it is happening for the first time, right? There will be 8 to 10 companies will apply for that tender. Let's say canteen services. After this, let's say offline classes starts. Let's say KIT University will float a tender for canteen services. So in that case, if you are doing it for first time, but in our case, we have been doing it for 5 or 6 years, right? It will be a modified rebuy. But let's say any university who doesn't provide canteen services or any institute, college, they are doing the first time, right? That will be a new task. Many canteen service provider restaurants will apply for that. So number of people who are involved will be many, right? The risk is high because you are doing this for first time. You might do mistakes, right? The vendor you select might not be a good vendor, right? Because we are like just looking into these documents by interacting with people. At the end, you have to take the decision, right? The canteen service provider you are selected, he doesn't prepare food properly, very poor quality, right? Then that is a big risk, right? So purchase managers are basically most of the times, right? Think about the government purchases. If you do a mistake, right? If somebody accuses of corruption, your job will be gone, right? So there is a lot of risk involved. But once it has been done, right, and the vendor is supplying continuously for 3 years or 5 years, right, the risk comes down drastically, right? So that is the meaning of this slide, right? The involvement in straight rebuy is very less. New purchase, obviously, many vendors, because this is the first time I'm making a purchase, right? The risk involved is much higher. Any doubt on this? Okay. So we are discussing number of people who influences, right? So in the first slide, there is something called many influencers, right? So if I categorize those influencers, these are the influencers, right? So I'm not talking about the who is a finance, who is from marketing, right? I'm talking about what role they play, right? Initiator means who has a requirement, right? Let's say for the laptops, right? Initiator may be the admin department from the KIT University, right? Or the like kind of a dean or the director's office, right? Because they understand that we require a laptop for students, right? Let's say we are buying laptops for students for the first time, right? So that will be initiator part. Influencer. There will be many internal and external influencers, right? So they may, like I said, construction, you want to purchase lifts, right? For the buildings, let's say this Z1 or the money in Bhubaneswar in outside, if you go, DLF, whichever the big construction companies, right? So whenever they are building big apartment, right, they will have a requirement of many components, like apart from the construction, air conditioning system, lifts, lighting, right? Most of the time they take the help or kind of a suggestion from external influencers like architects, right? Gatekeeper. So this is an interesting role. If some of you earlier have gone to a government office, you know that the peon who is working, the fourth level employee, right? He is the one of the biggest kind of whether your file get processed, whether your file will move from one table to other. He is the main person in the buying process. He doesn't have any control, but so those persons, secretary, personal secretaries of these ministers or the kind of cabinet secretaries. So that is, as a salesperson, you have to remember in B2B, more than the main person whom we are meeting, you have to at least have a good network, good relationship with the person who is moving your file, who is moving your information. Not necessarily always a physical file, right? It can be email. So the cabinet secretaries do not read their own emails. There will be personal secretaries for them. For the big CEOs or CFOs, right? Or the MDs of a company, vice presidents, they will have their personal secretaries. So that personal secretary is a gatekeeper, because unless you have to good relationship with them, your information, let's say you are calling that person for 5 or 10 times for last few days, that person will not convey that message, right? So those are the gatekeepers, right? Controls the information to be reviewed by members of the buying group. So there will be many people starting from the very like kind of in a government office peon to the personal secretaries, right? So those are the gatekeepers. Then decider. So this is a person who is at a higher level, right? Higher level means maybe in a private company, MD, general manager, right? Who have a signing authority, who makes that finance decision, saying that okay, at the end he will sign the order, right? Again, there will be different level depending upon the company, right? So I actually started as a purchase manager in Hindustan Petroleum after my engineering, right? So I had a limit of 50 lakhs. That means for any order up to 50 lakhs, right, I can sign. 50 to 5 crore, my manager, who was a purchase manager. 5 crore to 50 crore, then his manager. Then more than anything, which is the order value of more than 50 crore, we used to go to the executive director of the refinery, right? So that's how the kind of signing authority has been decided, right? Then buyer is those group of purchasing manager, right? It involves sometimes finance, sometimes legal, right? There will be a team who makes those decisions, right? So purchase manager is an important role in that most of the B2B companies, because they make the final decision of those. If you remember last class, whatever techno-commercial, those list of criteria, right? So they consolidate, they make sure that each person's requirement has been taken care, and they make that list and wrote the tender, right? User, think about the laptop, right? You are the user, right? But you are not making the purchase decision. You might have certain influences. You might say that, okay, this new technology has come. You might convey it to your professors, or you might write to directors that, okay, we are using older technology, older laptops, try to get this. So your role is, let's say in this case, laptop purchase. T2 University is buying these laptops for you. You are the final user. Depending upon the company, you might have very less or very high influence on the purchasing decision. If the same laptop are being bought for the Infosys or TCS, they might have better control or the better authority, because they'll say that no, we need this kind of laptops or desktop, right? So each of the roles, so these are the different roles a buying center play, right? In a company, whichever business you take, there will be something called a buying center who makes all these purchase decisions, and there will be people who play these kind of roles, right? Any doubt on this?
No, sir. Sir, it's
So-
11:10.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
I have a doubt.
Yeah, go ahead.
In case of Kate buying laptops for us,
Hmm.
can the gatekeeper be the ICT cell?
Again, like gatekeeper is not a single person. There can be many people, right? So think about you are from Lenovo, right? And and Kids School of Management is buying certain laptops specifically for MBA students, right? And you as a salesperson, you have a better, like, kind of technically your products are better than other people, right? And you know that. So you are now trying to get into touch with the kid director, dean, or those people who will make the decision, right? So you have certain information to share. Now you'll come and try to meet these people, right? Obviously, you cannot meet them directly. You have to make a phone contact. There will be people, personal secretaries whom you have to connect with, right? So in this case, those persons will be gatekeepers because your information is processing, like being passed to them, gatekeepers, and gatekeeper will tell, okay, the executive wants to meet to you regarding this tender, right? But let's say he doesn't tell. You will keep waiting, you will keep calling, right? So that is the meaning of gatekeeper. Again, like it is not always personal secretaries. You entered a purchase, like kind of a, let's say university is taking the decision, right? Obviously, you are not going to meet the vice chancellor or pro vice chancellor, right? You will pass your information to certain admin people, or let's say ICT team, right? The managers or the IT people who are working on that ICT team. And that information will be conveyed to the decision makers, right? We have compared from this information and they are providing 5% or 10% discount. But let's say you Repo is not good with those ICT group of people, right? Again, I'm just giving an example. Don't take it that, okay, professor told it is happening, right? So I'm just giving an example. Let's say you are from Lenovo. You could not build a good rapport with those people, right? Who are in between, right? Who are like kind of work as a gatekeeper. It might happen that your information will not be getting unmet, and that's why we are rather than it is being people dependent, right? Most of the companies are getting into process dependent, e-procurement, and whatever we'll discuss today on the reverse auction part. So that is that I'll just take 5 minutes to explain you that, because what happens whenever the purchase process is people dependent, as a salesperson, you might have a better product, but you have to convince so many people. And just think about government organization, you'll get mad. A simple peon will make sure that your file will never go to the that person who will take the decision. It will because most of the times these are physical documents. Somebody has to take those physical documents to like get it processed. That's why most of the purchases are right now being done through e-procurement, right? So just let me is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
So let me just take 5 minutes to explain the e-procurement and reverse auction, then we'll get into the exercise part. These parts, don't worry, I'll come back and next class we'll discuss in detail what is this meaning. I have kind of skipped 3 slides. I'll make sure that we'll discuss that in the next class. So in the classic procurement, what happens? Somebody, again, most of the times it is a new purchase or modified purchase, right? The purchase department, after gathering all the requirement, all the terms and conditions, they'll float a tender in a newspaper or in their website, right? This used to happen like when I was in Hindustan Petroleum, people used to come, they will pay certain price money, like kind of a authorization. It is not that they're paying money. So they have to buy that tender, right? Buy that tender document. So 500 or 1,000 rupees. Then they'll get that tender document. They'll go back to their office. People used to come from Mumbai, Delhi, everywhere, right? Depending upon the tender, depending upon what we are trying to buy. They'll prepare again physical document, write on their notes. I think I have discussed that example, right? We like one purchase which I was handling, we used to buy this heat exchanger, big heat exchangers, which is utilized in refining crude oil. So each heat exchanger, the purchase price from our side was 1.8 crores around, right? In the physical document, when the one bidder was preparing, rather than, so actually their selling price was 1.6 crore. Like for one, so we wanted to buy 2 heat exchangers, basically 3.2 crores. But by mistake, what they did, rather than writing 1.6 crore, somebody who is preparing bid, he wrote 16 lakhs. So 1 lakh, like, because 10, he or she, whoever prepared, he forgot. So just imagine the mistake they did. If they had done it correctly, they would have won the tender. It was a big value, 3.2 crores. but due to that mistake, they lost that tender. Obviously, they cannot sell in a that low price, right? And they were blacklisted for that issue, right? So it is purchase process is a very critical. So think about the employees who did that mistake. Obviously, like kind of that company would have removed them, right? And think about us, because again we have to float the tender because that company got blacklisted. 8 months of 12, 10 months of our work just got again we have to rework again, float a tender again, the process has to start. So I'm just giving an example of how difficult, how kind of worthless this physical document process, tendering process used to be. Still, there are few government organizations use this process, right? And that's why it takes a lot of time. They'll send this bid, somebody will sign the authority from their side. They'll again travel to our office, they'll submit in our office physically or through courier, right? Most of them actually come to office to, if it is a high value tender, right? It might get lost in courier or it might get delayed, right? Before the last date, they'll come and deliver, right? So this is a long process. Then again, it will take time to find out who is the winner. Now it is coming to electronic process. So through security, right, through a secure channel, right, which your data will be encrypted, right? You sign those documents through digital signature, right? There are companies who provide this kind of services, and there is a company called C1 India, which actually I tried to implement that in the last 2 years of my job there. So what happens once you put this kind of e-procurement channel, right? People need not have to travel that much, need not have to worry about physical document. They can upload, get the notifications, download the document from website, prepare the bids, upload it with security, right? One challenge with internet is that you have to make sure that your competitor is not seeing your price, right? So obviously through enough security is provided so that nobody knows how much you have quoted, what is your terms and conditions, right? So that is something known as digital signature, and you provide your bid, right? So this is known as e-procurement, where we are using internet to make the purchase process simpler, right? Converting the physical documents to digital documents and ensuring this they are secured, right, through digital signatures. Any doubt on this? Next is reverse auction. So I think all of you know auction, right? When you go for auction, let's say there is a precious item getting auctioned, right? What happens? You will say, whoever says that, okay, I think all of you might have watched movies or TV serials where they say this house or this equipment, each of you bid, whoever provide the highest price, right? They win this whatever the item, right? Or the house. So वो जो बोलते हैं ना नीलामी हो रहा है, right? So that is the auction process, right? Whoever posts the highest price, they win, right? If I implement that into a procurement team, right? Let's say each vendor have a similar technical specification, right? Now let's say I'll take the example of laptop, right? KIT University is buying 5,000 laptops. This is being done through e-procurement. Technically, every vendor, Lenovo, Dell, HP, they have told that we will be meeting all the technical requirements, right? Processor, RAM, memory, they'll provide laptop back. Let's say everybody is same in that, right? Now what will be the pricing part, right? Right, who is providing the lowest price, they will win the bid, right? So that is the reverse auction, and I can utilize same e-procurement platform to do the reverse auction. So rather than physically they present and quarrel among themselves, let's say there are 3 or 4 vendors, each of them will provide their prices. That price will be listed in my website. Website means obviously you need a user ID and password. It is not publicly available. Once you log in into that e-procurement site on a particular day, each one of you will provide your service. Let's say somebody is from Lenovo, somebody is from HP, somebody is from Dell. For 5,000 laptops, for each laptop, let's say I put a price of 30,000 or 40,000. Somebody says 42,000, somebody says 38,000, right? Then there will be rounds, right? Next round. So now what will happen? You know that there are 3 companies who have quoted for this tender and their prices, you know, but you don't know who has quoted what. Like whether Lenovo has quoted less or Dell has quoted less. So as a sales executive from Lenovo, you will not know. you know that there are 3 vendors who have quoted these prices. So there are certain rounds, 1, 2, 3 rounds happen. At the final round, whichever vendor said that, okay, this is my final price, I cannot come back below that. And if he is the lowest, assuming that all the technical specifications are same, every company is technically qualified to, and the product they are giving are all technically same, right? Then it will be that vendor will get the order, right? So that is the reverse auction. Why it is reverse? In auction we go, the prices go higher. In reverse auction, prices come down, right? So that is the meaning of the reverse auction. So our today's class exercise is based on that. Any doubt on this? The process. Class exercise I'll explain.
Sir, can you explain once reverse of auction, sir?
Reverse of auction means whichever vendor or whichever person pays the highest price, they will win the item or the house or whichever is being sold. The opposite process of yeah. So in this case, what happens? It is the opposite process. Whichever company being technically same, being technically qualified, right? Provides says that okay, let's say I'll take the laptop example, right? Lenovo, Dell, and HP. Lenovo costs 38,000, HP costs 48,000, and Dell says 42,000 in the first round. Then after 2 or 3 rounds, Dell when understand that if they don't decrease their prices, they are not going to kind of get the order. So they start reducing, right? And at the end, they quote 36,000, 37,000. And other 2 vendors, Lenovo and HP, still they are at 38, right? So they say that we cannot go below 38 because our manufacturing cost itself is 37 or 38,000. So they cannot go below. But now Dell says their final price, they'll provide the laptop at 38,000. So what happens? Whichever is the lowest bidder. So this is the reverse auction process. That person started at 42,000 initially quoted, but now from 42,000 he has come down to 38,000. So now among 3 vendors, whoever Dell is the lowest vendor, right? 38,000. He is quoting 38,000. So he will get the order. That is the reverse auction.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll stop share here and quickly I'll get into the class exercise part. Okay. So just go to the Google Classroom and it is already uploaded. There will be 2 documents, one PowerPoint and one Excel document, right? So let me explain the conditions. So this is a reverse auction process. Okay. So think yourself as a digital marketing agency, right? So digital marketing agency is basically who maintains the website, who makes sure that your brand is being promoted, right? So as a, let's say KIT University has a requirement or KIT School of Management has a requirement. So this is my annual requirement. So you have to develop a website for KIT School of Management. You have to do this kind of search engine optimization, right? So this is my requirement as a company, as a KIT School of Management. These are my requirement. You also have to maintain a email service, manage email service, right? Then you have to write contents about KIT School of Management, our students, our facilities, right? Let's say these are the annual requirement, right? And these are the calculated how many man hours required, right? 1,000 man hours means if one person works for 1,000 hours, that is 1,000 man hours, right? If I employ 2 employees, so each of them work for 500 hours, that can be 1,000 hours also, 1,000 man hours. So these are the hour requirement for each of the kind of whatever the activities are there, right? So SEO means search engine optimization, right? What kind of resource requirement is also there, right? So these are the categories of resources. These are resources required. These are the annual requirement from the KIT School of Management, right? And these are the hour requirement to complete that activities, right? So what it means, if somebody is to complete 10 articles, blogs per month in different forums, right? So you have to go to different forums, write blogs, articles about KIT School of Management. I need one content writer, right? Permanently, I need one content writer to complete this activity. Email service setup, pay per click services. I need one resources. Digital marketing intern will be completing this activity. 100 hours of his effort is required per month, right? For the website, to develop a website, let's say 1,000 man hours. Then for each month, maintaining the website so that there is no crashes, there is no bugs. 100 hours per month is required, right? So this is the requirement from KIT School of Management, right? As a company, you already have a website designer, you have a specialist who is in your full-time payroll. Then you have a part-time content writer and a digital marketing intern, right? So these are 4 employees already, 2 are full-time and 2 are part-time, right? And these are the annual amount of money you pay to them. 10 lakhs, 12 lakhs, 4 lakhs, and this person, because he is an intern, 30,000, right? Now these are the additional contract resources available. So you can hire them based upon your additional hour requirement, right? In case you are like, you have to let go one employee, right? For the full-time employee, there is something called severance pay, right? Most of us generally get a 2 months of notice period if you are a full-time employee. But if the company says, no, you leave tomorrow, I'll pay you 2 months of salary, right? Generally they pay 2 months of salary, right? If suddenly there's somebody asks, again, not for all the companies, it will be written in your joining document, right? You have to give 2 months notice. Company also has to give a 2 months notice. If they don't give, they'll pay you 2 months of salary, right? So that is 1,50,000 for a website designer, 2 lakhs for a SEO specialist. That means if you remove your SEO specialist, why will you remove? You'll say that, okay, I don't need a full-time resource. I'll utilize this contract hours, right? So in that case, these are the expenses. You have to pay 2 lakhs rupees. Now your role as a group will be, this is your company, these are the number of employees in your group, right? You have to, if you go and open that Excel sheet, right, you have to tell that how much price you are going to quote for this annual requirement, right? Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So basically, as a company, you have this requirement. As a group, you work. So I'll form those groups. At the end, you have to fill up that. Let me show the Excel file also. Just a moment. So write down your names and roll numbers of the group which will be kind of form. Then you have to tell in the round 1, website development maintenance, how much cost you are thinking. But you have to justify that. You cannot say on your own, right? So you have to make certain calculation. Let's say you are putting your full-time employee. Yearly he is charging 10 lakh rupees, right? So that is the 10 lakh rupees. Apart from that, whether you need a contract resource to complete all the activities, right? Similarly, SEO activities, whether you need a full-time resource or a contract resource, digital marketing activities, right? So you have to calculate the total cost of these employees. This is the total cost. Then how much profit margin will take. Obviously, as a digital marketing company, you have to make certain money, right? On that, you will write down your total margin. Again, in rupees, you write down. So the total sum of that, right? Total cost and profit which you want to take. So that will be your round 1 price. So right now it is 11:30, right?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Yeah, go on.
Sir, if sir, I don't employ that website designer as because he is charging 10 lakh rupees, and if I go for a part time as because 1,800 hours into 500 rupees, it is nearly around 9 lakh rupees. So
Yeah.
the part time one is in the part time one, I am saving 1 lakh rupees. So will I have to pay the website designer 1,50,000 for the surveillance pay? If I
Yes.
move on the
If you remove him, you have to pay 1,50,000.
Sir, I have a doubt. Sir, what is
Yeah.
the round 2 table consider?
What is?
Round 2. Here
Yes.
written as round 2.
Yeah. So what happens once you give me the round 1 prices, right? By 11:40, give me the round 1 prices, right? So I'll list, I'll not say which breakout room, I'll just put down these are the prices, right? So that is the first stage, right? So you know your prices, you will come to know what is the total prices other teams have told, right? Then in the round 2, if you want to change your final price, right? So what happens, let's say your final price are, yeah. Go on.
No, sir, continue.
Yeah, so let's say your price, let's say you say 50 lakhs or 60 lakhs. Other groups say 1 crore. Some groups say 80 lakhs, right? So I'll just publish those numbers, right? I'll not say which group has quoted what. Based after seeing that, you can change your prices, because I'll say round two, after round two, whichever group has the maximum profit, say that, okay, let's say initially you had quoted 50 lakhs, then you realized other groups have quoted less than you. Obviously, you will not win the tender. So you reduce your price, right? You will reduce your profit margin, or somehow calculation you did, and you find a better solution and you reduce your price. Let's say you say 40 lakhs, and let's say yours is the like kind of lowest among other 8 or 10 groups, right? Then you will get those 3 marks. So after the round two, whichever is the group which is maximum profit, obviously calculation first has to be correct. So randomly you cannot just put the numbers. Calculation part has to be correct, justification has to be correct, and you are making the maximum profit. So round one is basically, once you tell me those numbers, you just have to message me, right, in this WhatsApp, so not WhatsApp, this Zoom, right? Individually, each group can message me the round one numbers, right? Then after round one is over, I'll just put those numbers